Alright, no music playing. Hello, I love cats. How are you doing? Let me check the audio on TikTok. Yeah, it's fine. How am I? I'm not feeling the best. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's partially the heat. Okay, I have these finger drills to do. I'm not sure which one I did last time. I'll start at 15. It's my birthday today? Oh, happy birthday! Are you gonna do anything special today? Oh wait, the Steno Jig wasn't showing. Where is Steno Jig? Right here. There. Hope you get better. Sometimes getting randomly down is normal. Yeah. Happy birthday, whoever that is. That's Lydia. I forgot to monitor the live on TikTok. Okay, let me restart this finger drill. I've been to the big city and got my girlfriend over for the next few days. We're both watching your stream as it's 11 p.m. here. Hello, the both of you. I'm just doing finger drills right now.
Escargot 6 just redeemed hydrate. Escargot 6 just redeemed posture check.
Thank you for hydrate and posture check. I kept looking back to your live videos, waiting for the time to finally watch your live stream. Yeah, I was an hour late today. I'm sorry about that. Hello, my name is Anamen. My name is a name, not a cow. Is that what it says? I'm preemptively blocking someone on TikTok live. UPLTS EFRB. Hello, 50,000 BPM. I'm glad I got your name, your username right. I really said name instead of name. Steno jigging, yes I am. Trying to do these drills. I get mixed up in my head with them though. I think I'll just do this section, or maybe 2 sections. Sorry about the lack of music. I tried to play music and OBS said no. Nah, this isn't a game. This is called stenography. I'm training to become what's called a live captioner. It requires daily practice, but sometimes I just forget about it or I'm too tired to practice. Melody's gonna hack the mainframe. Imagine that. Me doing that live. That'd be amazing. Wrong ones. Whoops. 104. Whoops. EFD. That's... Damn it. Okay, EFD UFPB. Hello, Leon. Femboy? I'm not a femboy. What you doing? Stenography. I'm doing finger drills right now. It helps to have a goal in mind. Gotta go already in like 15 minutes because it's too late for me. Well, thank you for stopping by, Lucas. Someone asked for me to have the paper tape up. Well, they asked in general if there were any people doing steno content that had the paper tape up. So I added it to my overlay in case anyone wanted it. I watched the VOD of YouTube today because I missed some yesterday. Oh, I hope you had I hope it was enjoyable for you. I understand it would have been pretty confusing because I am at the end of the game. My goal is still going on since I was 5, still doing art, and I now have my own original art style. That's awesome. Great work. I didn't understand much, but it was fun. I'm glad you had fun. This one's easy to go fast. 119. I was waiting for you to go live because we have different time zones, so I knew I would need to go really soon. I have people on TikTok and Twitch right now, so you're not the only person watching. And sorry, I was late today. Not feeling the best. I don't know what's going on with that one. Really, any reason you're not feeling the best? I don't know. Part of it must be the heat. But other than that, I have no clue. Feel better soon? Thank you. I didn't want to miss today's stream, so I decided to go live anyway. Especially since I have to do this practice anyway. It's easier to force myself to practice if I know I have to do it live. This is difficult. TWRO. My brain hates this. Thank you for the likes. TWRS? It's easier and more motivating when I get to share screen with my friends with what I'm doing. Exactly. TWRS. What? I think that one isn't real. Hello, Anna Marie. How are you doing? Sometimes I feel so annoyed when it's hot. What's up? Nothing much. Just doing a stenography stream. How about you? Stenography is when you use a form of shorthand to take down dictation. In my case right now, I'm doing what's known as finger drills, which are a way to get faster on the machine. I'm having trouble though, because these are really tough. Yeah, finger drills. Yes. They're drills. Yes, fingers on the hands. Patrick will come by soon. He usually does. Oh, 108. I'm really sleepy. I just wanted to shortly stop by, so enjoy the stream and hope you feel better. Thank you. Have a nice sleep. See you tomorrow. Yes, I will definitely be streaming tomorrow. At an earlier time, probably. $60. Am I almost done? Yes. After this, I'll do the 100 most common words drill, all the way to 200. And then I'll do quotes, and then I can move on to the legal terminology textbook. The fact that you're keeping up a live stream streak is proud work. Yes. I stream every day. I'm hoping to get captioning work. Okay, I can do 100 most used words. Matrix with Melody would be so amazing. Okay, let me turn on my dictionaries. They're on now. Okay, I got to 109 words per minute on that. Let's do the next 25 to 125. I'll read out the quotes as I do them again, just because I need some form of audio when I do these. It's hard to talk and do these. Okay, that one was 97. Sometimes I like to do monkey types to get better at typing fast and not needing to look at my keyboard. This website for the quotes section, it pulls from monkey type. See, quotes from monkey type. In a little bit, I'm gonna do the short quotes, which are under 100 characters. $108. Okay, I'm at 75 now. Still though, need going off after over could before should. However, okay, here data. Tough? What do you mean by that? Probably very most. Thank you for the likes and for following. Being always thought both kind. I run out of breath really easily while doing these. If I speak while doing them. Against each you sent into found view, then really where many first long between our only years during say to look last underused much might every says on through come got down year us. That's 101 words per minute. You know, it's gonna be a peak live stream when the person chats with their viewers bonus. They're playing a website shows game that need the player to type fast or something like that. Yeah. I make clips from these streams and I post them online, hoping to pull in more people to try this out. Okay, That's the end of that. Let me do the short quotes now. Okay. Leave something for someone, but don't leave someone for something. Let me redo that. Leave something for someone, but don't leave someone for something. 138. $211 words per minute. Sometimes I wish I never built this palace, but real love is never a waste of time. 132. Most men and women will grow up to love their servitude and will never dream of revolution. 89. If you don't like how things are, change it. You are not a tree. 123. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. 144. I know that I'm not alone, but I want, damn it, but I want to be strong even when I am. Let me try that again. I know that I'm not alone, but I want to be strong even when I am. 138. The spirits that I summoned up, I now can't rid myself of. My spelling is wobbly. It's good spelling, but it wobbles, and the letters get in the wrong places. I wonder who said that. He misses the time he had with you. I miss the time I didn't have. All for one and one for all. United we stand, divided we fall. Is getting rid of all the thorns in someone's path really what's best for them? A man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. If there's anything more important than my ego around, I want it caught and shot now. There will come a time when all of us are dead. 208. It's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. The difference between treason and patriotism is only a matter of dates. Do it again on the next verse and people think you meant it. 182. I did not bow down to you. I bowed down to all the suffering of humanity. Begin at the beginning and go on till you come to the end, then stop. If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again. I don't know what to say. I'm mostly staring at VTubers' eyes from how shiny they are and how fast they're typing. Oh my god, I forgot how to write enemy again. He didn't have to know how it would stand if he didn't look at it and moved off to the side. 155. To devise is the work of the master, to execute the act of the servant. Okay, sorry. There was a bunch of cars outside that were really loud. This is the second most tragic thing to happen in my life. While monsters are mostly made of magic, human beings are mostly made of water. The ships hung in the sky in much the same way that bricks don't. I'm in deep with this girl, but she's out of her mind. We all need something to live for. Okay. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Courage is... Okay. Courage? Yes. Okay. Well, I'll move on anyway, because I don't want to do that punctuation. But I knew them all right. Melody went out and destroyed all the traffic with her anime super moves.
Jazz Adele Games just redeemed posture check.
Thank you for the posture check. Yeah, it's definitely pretty warm in here. I'm drinking a lot of water. Sometimes I jump from hearing unexpected loud noise from a vehicle. I just think it's annoying. Night noises that, taken together, make one big silence. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. When we remember, we only get a version of the last time we remember it. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. It's roasting in my bedroom and yet it's almost midnight. Oof. Accomplishments were yesterday's impossibilities. You want to know something funny? After everything you've done, I would have saved you. It is sometimes an appropriate response to reality to go insane. A real artist must never be afraid of what other people are gonna say about him. When my family is pretty loud, I get like such a big hollow annoyed feeling in my chest to the point I need to go all the way upstairs and then downstairs just get my headphones. People are being weird on TikTok. I never said the words out loud while practicing hard copy. Do you find it helps? I'm only doing it for so that I can clip the stream. So if I say it out loud and I clip the stream, then there's always audio of me, of something saying the words, so it doesn't get boring to watch. Life is not the amount of breaths you take, it's the moments that take your breath away. I do not know if all cops are poets, but I know that all cops carry guns with triggers. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. I know that I'm not alone, but I want to be strong even when I am. 142. Sometimes I feel, okay, when am I gonna stop doing this? It is 6:39. So I've been at it for 39 minutes so far. I'll stop at 650. I'll do the legal terminology after that. Sometimes I feel like love doesn't actually exist. It's just pheromones playing tricks on people. I don't know pheromone. Pheromone. I'm not spelling it correctly. Pheromone. Huh? Sometimes I feel like love doesn't actually exist. It's just playing tricks on people. Why is it in the dictionary like that? SPWER. Why not pheromone? I don't care what consequence it brings. I have been a fool for lesser things. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Total victory is scoring an easy win by doing what you always do. I'd tell you all you want and more if the sounds I made could be what you hear. We could love that tractor then as we have loved this land when it was ours. The last time I ever went into TikTok, I got a video that said 5 things to say to get your bullies away with an alpha wolf as the background. That's so strange. Go forth on your path as it exists only through your walking. He died doing what he wanted, no matter what, right? I bet he was happy. The secret of a good old age is simply an honorable pact with solitude. A day without a friend is like a pot without a single drop of honey left inside. He was swimming in a sea of other people's expectations. Men had drowned in seas like that. Today's accomplishments were yesterday's impossibilities. My capacity for happiness, you could fit into a match box without taking out the matches first. And the TikTok comments were brutal. Oof. If you want truth, you should begin by giving it. 225. And if you're brave enough to start, you will. If I could fall into the sky, do you think time would pass me by? Things, events that occupy space yet come to an end when someone dies make us stop and wonder. We believe not in death but in life, and there is no object more valuable than a man's life. Speed. I am speed. 1 winner, 42 losers. I eat losers for breakfast. Okay, 6 minutes more and then I move on to the textbook. all you need to paint, all you need to paint is a few tools, a little instruction, and a vision in your mind. No, I'm doing stenography practice. $147. You only do what you can do. You will never be more than you are now. Than you are now. Let me do that again. That's pretty mean of that person to have said. $158 words per minute. You see, the rays from the star pass so near the sun that they get bent on the way to us. 158. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Every time I think of exercise, I have to lie right down until the feeling leaves me. Cleaning your house while kids are around is like shoveling the walk while it's still snowing. This won't take long. There. That should give us enough time to make it to a lifeboat. Music, once admitted to the soul, becomes a sort of spirit and never dies. Melody became the big scary bully taking all the lunch money without eating Lucy's for breakfast line. I think it was Lightning McQueen that said that from Cars. I can't stand the thought of looking at you someday, this face I love, and not knowing who you are. The ancient... How do I write ancient? Oh, it's SH. Ancient. The ancient spirits of light and dark have been released. Give a man a gun and he can rob a bank, but give a man a bank and he can rob the world. Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore. The human whose name is written in this note shall die. Books are my friends, my companions. They make me laugh and cry and find meaning in life. Faith always starts with desire. That means we want something to happen badly. People don't suffer from insanity. They love every minute of it. No survivors? Then where do the stories come from, I wonder? Hi, Patrick. Must have learned not to breathe. And brace for the glory as you stare into the sky. Yes, you have arrived. Oh, we could be the stars falling from the sky, shining how we want, brighter than the sun. Perseverance. How do I write perseverance? Hold up.
Ticked _off_ Patrick just redeemed yeehaw.
Thank you for the yeehaw. Yes, it's Thursday. Time to learn stenography. Yes, absolutely. Perseverance is failing 19 times and succeeding the 20th. Nature's great masterpiece, an elephant, the only harmless great thing. The day the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. 153. What got me into stenography? I wanted to become a live captioner. So at first, I was a freelancer for a website called Rev. And then I started looking into how to get faster, and I learned about stenography. Everything that we did and built and wrote and thought and discovered will be forgotten. I can't erase all the things that I've done, but all the mistakes made me who I've become. Death is what gives life meaning. To know your days are numbered, your time is short. Okay, that's the last one I'll do. Let's move on to the legal terminology textbook. Yes. Let me move things over. Okay, assumption. Assumption, there. It's actually SAUFPL, assumption of risk. I don't know why, but your character looks like a fever dream character, and the joyous mustache gives it so much personality. Also, thanks, Patrick. They said thank you, Patrick. In a suit for negligence, if the defendant can show that the plaintiff knew of the risk involved and took the chance of being injured, he or she may claim assumption of risk as a defense. Assumption of risk is an affirmative defense, and when a defendant raises an affirmative defense, the defendant bears the burden of proving proving it. There. Namely, assumption of risk involves proving the plaintiff's injuries were a result of the plaintiff's voluntary and intentional how do I write intentional again? Let me look it up. I am not finding. I always forget intentional. And SPWEPBGS. Intentional exposure to a known dangerous condition. For example, assumption of risk has been raised against persons hit by foul balls or flying baseball bats. While sitting in the stands at baseball games. In fact, this defense has been so often used by baseball teams. The defense was occasionally called the baseball rule. How strange. Bankruptcy. I forgot how to write bankruptcy. Okay. Discharge in bankruptcy. A lawsuit alleging negligence cannot be brought against a defendant if the defendant has been discharged in a bankruptcy proceeding and the plaintiff's claim is included among the defendant's debts. What inspired you to make you want to become a live caption person? I just want to help people, you know? And I also like captioning anyway. There aren't that many live captioners in the United States. So knowing that, I want to be one of the few that exist. That means that I could caption for live events or for students. Doing it for students would be pretty interesting. It sounds really, really tough though, because you have to know basically everything. It's really difficult work. Because it's not just having a handle on the English language, you also need to be able to write anything that pops up. So if I'm met with an unfamiliar term to me, I need to be able to write it correctly no matter what. And that's really tough, especially when it comes to like the sciences. Medical stuff, things like that. Every cause of action. How do I write cause of action again? Okay, I had about this the right idea. As a time limit for bringing suit. A statute of limitations is a time limit set by statute within which a suit must be commenced after the cause of action accrues. Must be a lot of work and energy. Hope you get more better at it. I am trying. I typo a lot though. So I need to overcome this hurdle, which is me typoing all the time. Cause of action accrues when a suit may be brought for damages. In negligence cases, the statute of limitations begins to run either on the date of the injury or on the date that the injury was or
_off_ Patrick just redeemed. Try to say this in Spanish. Hello.
Hola. For example, if the statute of limitations for a personal injury suit is 2 years and a person had no way of knowing of the injury until 3 years after the incident. How do I write incident again? Incident. The plaintiff would theoretically have 5 total years from the date of the incident to file a suit. A statute of repose, on the other hand, OERPBD, on the other hand, places an absolute time limit for bringing a cause of action, regardless of when the cause of action accrues. The following is Arizona's statute of repose for certain kinds of suits over real estate. Yeah, it's already been an hour. I know, right? Time really flies when it comes to stenography. Notwithstanding, any other statutes, no action or arbitration based in contract may be instituted or maintained against a person who develops and sells real property, or performs or furnishes the design, specifications, surveying, how do I survey? Surveying, planning, supervision, testing, construction, or how do I write observation again? Observation. No. Ad break is gonna start in like 15 seconds. Observation of construction of an improvement to real property more than 8 years after substantial completion of the improvement to real property. Okay, ad break is gonna end soon. You're gonna be seeing more fan art. Trust? Well, thank you. You can see where I messed up in the paper tape because it'll have 2 asterisks. If it's an asterisk on its own, that means that I erased something. We got 2 minutes left in the ad break. I might not make it to the audiobook again. I might be doing the legal terminology textbook the entire time. I believe there's only one page left, but it's gonna be long. It was so fun drawing the joyous mustache. I bet it was. It's just a mustache that I found on VTube Studios theme inventory. I don't know what it's called. It's not a shop. And the items that are uploaded to Steam for VTube Studio. I also have an autism creature, a clown nose. I can't think of the rest. Let me check. Clown nose, autism creature, mustache, pat my head. Those are that's all it is. That's all it is. Ad break ends in 20 seconds, and then I'm going to continue with this legal terminology textbook. All right. Notice that the statute places an 8-year maximum time limit on the types of claims listed, regardless of when a plaintiff might discover that it has a cause of action. Product liability. Oh. Well, it's pretty short, actually. Product liability. Imagine you're doing a live stream on Twitch, nobody's watching, and you get the ad break, so you just gotta sit there in complete silence talking to nobody. I used to get 0 people in my streams. But that was before I reached affiliate on Twitch. And then I read online that people like to take breaks when the 3-minute ad break hits. So I decided to start doing that too. Liability, legal responsibility of manufacturers, sellers, and lessors, those who lease products, trucks, to compensate people for injuries suffered because of defects in their products is a tort known as product liability. Under modern legal theory, people who are injured by defective products can bring suit against the manufacturers or sellers of the products, whether or not the injured persons purchased the products. There is no requirement of privity of contract, the legal relationship between contracting parties, to recover for injuries from defective goods. In addition, it is not always necessary to prove a negligent act on the part of the manufacturer or seller. Product liability is based on alternative theories of liability. Design defect is the theory that the product was negligently designed or could have been designed more safely. Manufacturing defect is the theory that the product was negligently built or built with substandard materials. Failure to warn, also called inadequate warnings, is the theory that the product's dangers were inadequately labeled or communicated to the consumer or user. I really like watching a lot of videos and it's English. I'm learning more English every day. I used to struggle a bit back then because I'm Arab, bonus I'm a Muslim, so I'm kind of used to Arabic. I'm also watching TV series and movies in English. I finished Young Sheldon with my mom. Oh, that sounds fun. Sorry, Enla, what is pH? Under a theory of strict liability, which was, that's not liability, which was first applied in America by the California Supreme Court in Greenman v. Yuba Power Products, manufacturers, I don't know, manufacturer? Okay, and sellers can be liable without regard to fault. Young Sheldon sounds like a blast. Sure does. I watched a video. It's from this YouTuber, Evasive, and she likes to get different marginalized people in the same room watching specific media that pertains to their marginalization. And I watched a video which was autistic people watching Young Sheldon, and they had a pretty good time with it. Apparently it's not that bad of a show. This type of liability is applied if it is shown that the product was sold in a defective condition, that it was unreasonably dangerous to the user or consumer, and that the defective condition was the proximate cause of injury or damage. The rationale of strict liability is that if neither the plaintiff nor the defendant is at fault, the defendant should pay the damages because it is a corporation and therefore is more able to absorb the costs of injury. Also, since our TV has, I think, every movie, TV series in it, we like taking advantage of that and watch lots of English movies / TV shows. TV series. I see. I hope you continue to find some good ones to watch. The law of contracts lies at the core of most personal business transactions that we become involved with during our lifetime. A contract occurs occurs, yeesh, whenever we buy or sell something, provide or receive services for a fee, employ someone or become employed, rent an apartment, attend college, and in many other contexts during our lives. Chapter 18 breaks down the subject of contracts into various classifications. Contract requirements, including consideration, writing, essentials. Oh no, I forgot how to write essentials again. That's essentially. SELGS. I can never remember that. Defective agreements and illegality. Are examined in chapter 19 after discussing the subjects of assignment and delegation of contracts. Chapter 20 surveys the various methods of ending contractual Okay. I see. Contractual obligations and chapter 21 provides and chapter 21 provides an overview of a particular but often made type of contract, sales of goods contracts, which are governed by the Uniform Commercial Code. Formation of contracts. Anti-derogatory. In most cases, contracts made by minors are A, misdemeanors, B, void, C, voidable, D, unenforceable. Unenforceable. Okay, well. Learning objectives. Explain how a contract is formed. Identify the 4 classifications of contracts. Contrast an express contract from an implied contract. Contrast a bilateral contract from a unilateral contract.
Ticked_off_Patrick just redeemed yeehaw.
Thank you for the yeehaw. Explain the difference between a void, voidable, and unenforceable. Mustache time? Exactly. Unenforceable contract Contrast an executed contract from an executor contract. Distinguish the ways in which E contrast can be entered. I think that's what it's supposed to say. Yes, the mustache is back for the next 5 minutes. Contract formation. In its simplest terms, a contract is any agreement that is enforceable in a court of law. To reach an agreement, one party, called the offerer, makes an offer, a proposal, to another party, called the offeree, to enter into a legally enforceable binding agreement. Patrick, you're deaf respected by me. Hell yeah. If the offeree assents to the terms of the offer and acceptance occurs and an agreement, sometimes called a bargain, comes into existence. To illustrate, if one person says to another, I'll sell you my car for $2,500, the offer, and the other person replies, I'll buy it, the acceptance, a contract is formed the moment the words of acceptance are spoken. If instead the other person replies, no way, that is a rejection. The offeree refusal of an offer. A rejection terminates the offer. When the other person responds with a different offer instead of accepting the one that was made, that is called a counter offer. For instance, if instead of saying no way, the offeree says, I like your old car, but not that much. I'll give you $2,000 for it. That would be a counter offer. Like a rejection, a counter offer extinguishes an offer. A revocation occurs when the offerer has a change of mind and takes back the offer before the offeree accepts it. Suppose that before the offeree can say yes or no, I know there's a way to write yes. That is how you write yes or no. To the offer of the car for $2,500, the seller says, never mind, I don't feel like selling it today, that would be a revocation, which terminates the offer. When an offer or contract contains a condition precedent, the other party is not obligated to perform until the prerequisite is carried out. For example, if I agree to buy your car only if you have the brakes fixed, I would have no obligation to buy it unless you have the repairs made. A condition precedent is an event that must first occur before an agreement or deed or will becomes effective. Terms in action. Is getting engaged a contract? And if it is, then does breaking off an engagement constitute a breach of contract? Few, if any, contracts questions are more personal than those relating to agreements to marry. Most jurisdictions stay out of romantic disputes because those types of agreements are thought to not include the kind of consideration that courts want to measure. Likewise, no-fault divorces can be obtained without the party seeking the divorce having to prove a breach of any promise by the other spouse. But in 2008, a 6-man, 6-woman jury in Georgia awarded a woman $150,000 because her fiance called off their wedding. Evidently, Rosemary Shell, the offeree, agreed to marry Wayne Gibbs, the offerer, and then moved from Pensacola, Florida, to Gainesville, Georgia, where Gibbs lived. She left behind an $81,000 per year job and found a job paying $34,000 annually. 3 months later, Gibbs broke off the engagement. He had contemplated contemplated. Contemplated it even earlier, but shortly before the wedding, Gibbs let Shell know of his change of heart through a conspicuously I don't know how to write that word either. Conspicuously reading it correctly? It's the text is really small, so. Okay, I don't know how to write conspicuous. Okay. Conspicuously. Placed note in their bathroom and a $5,000 check. In his defense at the trial, Gibbs testified that he had made some of Shell's mortgage payments and paid off $30,000 of Shell's debts. But when he realized he had even more debt than he originally realized, he broke off the wedding. The trial judge instructed the jury that breach of a promise to marry as a common law contract action. By the very nature of this action, there must be an actual promise to marry and acceptance of that promise before one can be held liable for a breach. The $150,000 damages amount was based on Shell's old salary, bonuses, and benefits. That took me a while to get through. Okay, stream ends in 30 minutes. So I'll just keep doing the textbook. Advertisements, including price tags, prices on merchandise, signs and prices in catalogs are not usually treated as offers. Instead, such an advertisement is called an invitation to negotiate. How do I write negotiate? Okay, there. How do I write it out though? To negotiate. Okay, I had the right idea. Or an invitation Is invitation just not in the dictionary? You're getting one of your friends to subscribe to me? That's sweet of you.
Ticked_off_Patrick just redeemed yeehaw.
Thank you for the yeehaw, Patrick. Okay. Invitation. Invite. Invite. Invitation. There. To deal. Although it seems counterintuitive to think this way, the common law of contracts treats an advertisement, such as listing your car for $2,500 in a classified ad, as being your invitation to the reader to find you and then offer you $2,500 for your car. For this reason, a contract does not usually arise when a customer offers to buy a mismarked product, unless the store accepts the customer's offer and agrees to sell the product at the mismarked price. Stores might honor the mismarked price for the sake of customer relations, but that does not affect the underlying doctrine that generally advertisements are not offers. Okay. How many more pages do we got? Oh, not many left. It's just this one and the next one. Contract classifications. Contracts may be classified in the following ways. 1. Express and implied. 2. Bilateral and unilateral. 3. Valid and void, voidable and unenforceable. 4. Executed and executory. What is executory? Executory. I am trying to become better at this. Express and implied contracts. An express contract is one in which the terms of the contract are stated by the parties, either orally or in writing. An implied contract is one in which the terms of the contract are not stated by the parties, but their behavior shows them to be in a contract. For instance, if a business has for many months delivered parts that the receiving company uses to make a product and then resell, and the two parties have long since stopped exchanging terms because the price hasn't gone up, let's say, the parties are in an implied contract. Two types of implied contracts are a contract implied in fact and a contract implied in law. A contract implied in fact is a contract that arises from the conduct of the parties rather than from their express statements. For example, when you board a bus and pay the fare without saying anything to the driver, and the driver says nothing to you, No express contract exists because the terms were not stated. However, a contract implied in fact exists that the bus driver will take you to a destination along the bus's particular route. Okay, I had trouble with particular again. Unjust enrichment occurs when one person retains money, property, or other benefit that in equity and justice belongs to another. Situations involving unjust enrichment can occur when a party receives contract-like benefits without having paid for them, which seems somewhat like the tort of conversion. Sometimes, to prevent unjust enrichment, the court will impose a contract on the parties when one actually does not exist, or when an express contract cannot be enforced. This court-imposed obligation is called a contract implied in law, or quasi-contract. The term quasi means as if or almost as it were. For example, if a cable TV customer gets premium channels for a year that the customer didn't order or protest, but has paid only the standard rate for a year, oh, bye! See you next time. I love cats. The customer has been unjustly enriched and could be required to pay 12 months of premium channel prices. A person who has been unjustly enriched at the expense of another is required to make restitution. That is, restore the other person to his or her original position prior to the loss. Woo. I guess that's I just learned something that I shouldn't do. If I ever got a subscription to cable TV, I know better than to not contact them if I were to get premium channels for free. Ooh. Because I wouldn't want to pay 12 months just suddenly. That would suck. Bilateral and unilateral contracts. The primary distinction between an unenforceable agreement and an agreement qualifying as a contract is that a contract involves an exchange between parties, and at least one of the things being exchanged has to be a promise. Contracts are classified according to the number of promises made by the parties. A bilateral contract is a contract containing two promises, one made by each party to the contract. One party makes a promise in exchange for the other party's promise. For example, if someone says, I'll sell you my laptop computer for $400. And the other party replies, I'll buy it. A bilateral contract has been made because both parties made and exchanged promises. Notice that a bilateral contract doesn't need the word promise to be used for there to be an exchange of promises. It is a form of the agreement, not the exact words that make a particular contract bilateral. A reward offer is an example of a unilateral contract which comes into existence when the offer is accepted by the performance of an act. A unilateral contract is a contract containing only one promise in exchange for an act, often referred to as a performance. Suppose, for example, that a person offers a $100 reward for the return of a lost dog. The only way that the offer can be accepted is by the actual return of the lost dog to the offerer. When that happens, the offer is accepted. In a bilateral contract, consideration, which is discussed in Chapter 19, is found in the promises of each party. In a unilateral contract, consideration is found in the promise of the offerer and the act of the offeree. Winning a prize for being first in a contest or race, think of the Indianapolis how do I write Indianapolis? Indianapolis 500 is the result of a unilateral contract because promising to win the contest or promising to try to win the contest has no bearing on the prize being given.
Ticked _off Patrick just redeemed posture check.
Thank you for the posture check. Terms in action. Karen Kershaw of Akron, Ohio, couldn't afford to pay the remaining $600 for a truck she wanted to buy from Rick Remy, a used car dealer. So, according to her lawsuit, Remy presented to her on Valentine's Day Valentine's Day 2000, a contract allowing her to pay for the truck by performing certain favors. That's not good. Favors for him. The value of each performance payment payment was based on its type of favor. Although Kershaw denied agreeing to such a contract, he made 2 of these types of personal services payments. And Remy kept track of her remaining balance on the front of an envelope. Nah, I'll continue. Don't want to hear about that anymore. Valid, void, voidable, and unenforceable contracts. A valid contract is one that meets all of the requirements of an enforceable agreement. In a sense, the term valid contract is redundant. Redundant. Redundant, how do I write it? Redundant. Okay. Because of an agreement that is unenforceable isn't a contract, so it couldn't be valid. A void contract, conversely, is a nullity and has no legal effect. For the same reason that an agreement having the required elements of enforceability doesn't need to be called a valid contract, but simply a contract, an alleged agreement that fails to qualify as a contract is considered void, but is commonly referred to as a void contract. For instance, an illegal contract, such as one for the sale of an item that is prohibited to be bought and sold, marijuana, for instance, is void. A voidable contract is one that may be disaffirmed or avoided. I get homophones mixed up all the time too. Oh, yes. Disaffirmed or avoided. Okay. I didn't have the O. Repudiated, gotten out of by one of the parties if he or she wishes, because of some rule of law that excuses that party's performance. Performance? I forgot how to write performance. Okay. PRORPLS. It is sometimes said that a voidable contract is one that is valid unless voided. For example, a contract entered into between an infant, the legal name, what? have such a hard time with quotation marks and parentheses. An infant, the legal name for a minor. And an adult is voidable by the minor, but not by the adult. For example, if a 16-year-old buys a car from an adult, the minor may disaffirm the contract. Good job resetting, thank you. And return the car in exchange for the money paid, even if the seller spent the money. An exception to the doctrine that minors may disaffirm their contracts while they are still minors concerns contracts that minors make for necessaries. Necessaries, sometimes called necessities, as mentioned in the word wise below, include food, clothing, shelter, and medical care that are needed by the minor but not being supplied by the parent or guardian. Although minors are responsible for paying for the fair value of their necessaries, at their option, they may disaffirm most other contracts on the ground that they lack capacity, legal competency, competent, competency. I did it. I didn't even have to look it up. I figured it out. Legal competency to contract. When minors reach majority,
ticked_off_Patrick just redeemed posture check.
Thank you for the posture check. Adulthood, which is 18 years old in most jurisdictions, they may ratify, that is, approve or confirm earlier contracts made during their minority. Okay. Minority. I think minority. Going to go to my own practice. Good job and keep going. I hope your practice goes really well. Goodbye. And thus be bound by them. Ratification can be made by continuing to make payments for an item purchased during infancy, or even by failing to disaffirm a contract within a reasonable time after reaching majority status. Some states make exceptions to the general rule on minors' contracts, including allowing the other party to offset the money to be returned to the minor by an amount equivalent to any depreciation in the item the minor is returning. And some states grant minors the authority to make certain types of contracts. For example, despite having 18 as the cutoff age for being a minor, North Carolina has a statute that allows certain 16-year-olds to make the following type of contract. A minor who is 16 years of age or older and who is in the legal custody of the county department, the county Department of Social Services shall be qualified and competent to contract for the purchase of an automobile insurance policy with the consent of the court with continuing jurisdiction over the minor's placement. An unenforceable contract is one that is valid but cannot be enforced for some legal reason. An oral contract for the sale of real property is an example of an unenforceable contract because a real estate contract is required to be in writing to be enforceable. Statutes often declare what contracts need to be in writing and signed in order to be enforceable, known as statutes of frauds. Typically, the contracts included in a statute of frauds are contracts for the sale of real estate, contracts in consideration of marriage, prenuptial agreements, contracts that by their terms cannot be completed within 1 year from the date of making the contract, promises to a creditor to pay someone else's debts, called suretyship, Hello, Wisconsin, doing good on your video games tonight? I'm not playing video games right now. Ad starts in 1 minute. I'm gonna finish this chapter and then I'm gonna end stream. I only have 1 page left after this one. Two minutes left. I honestly should have snoozed the ad break because this is not gonna, I don't think this is gonna take that much time. Yeah, I got 3 paragraphs and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 8 paragraphs left.
Ticked _off Patrick just redeemed posture check.
Thank you for the posture check. 1.5 minutes left. I am almost done. Oh, 20 seconds left. Oh, ad break has ended. Okay, I just have 8 paragraphs to go. Promises by the executor. Executor. Executor of the estate of a dead person to personally pay for the estate's debts, contracts for sales of goods where the purchase price is at least $500. Discuss in more detail in chapter 21, where parties have already acted as if they were in an enforceable contract. Courts will not undo their past contractual how do we write contractual? Okay. Transactions, because unenforceability is about being able to avoid future contract performance. No, not again. Performance. That's important. I always have trouble with the word performance. Performance, to illustrate if a buyer is unhappy about the price paid for a house after moving into the house, she or he cannot seek a refund from the seller based on the statute of frauds because the contract has been performed. There is no enforceability to avoid. The statute of frauds is discussed in more detail in chapter 19. The definition of necessities in standard dictionaries lists food, clothing, and shelter as specific items necessary to sustain life. In legal dictionaries, however, the term is often given a broader meaning as well as a different spelling. For example, a C necessaries reference is listed under the term necessities in Black's Law Dictionary. This is because in legal use of the term, necessaries include not only what maintains life, but also what is required to preserve the standard of living to which an individual is accustomed. Thus, necessaries often relate to the standard established by the rank, position, and earning power of a buyer, or those of his or her parent or spouse. Executed and executory how to write executory again? Executory contracts. Contracts that are completely carried out, both sides' performance duties have been fully completed, are said to be executed. Those that have come into existence i.e., there has been offer and acceptance, but are not yet fully carried out, are executory. For example, if one student agrees to sell her textbook to another student for $50 and the seller gives the book to the buyer, but the buyer has to wait until getting paid on Friday to pay for the text, the contract is valid but is executory. When the buyer pays the seller $50, the contract is executed. It's okay that you did a redeem during the break. It's not like I was doing anything. E-contracts. Because so many items, okay, let me retry that. Because so many items are bought and sold on the internet, including the licenses to use software, contracts entered into over such a medium have been termed e-contracts. That is not in my dictionary. But that was wrong. There is no separate body of contract law that governs e-contracts, but the traditional contract doctrines have been applied to e-contracts. Statutes and case law have been developed to respond to specific issues related to making contracts by way of the internet. One key issue needing to be addressed is how someone signs an e-contract when it is the kind of contract that, for statute of fraud purposes, has to be signed. In 2000, Congress created the E-Sign Act, which establishes that electronic signatures, contracts, and other records used in interstate commerce are valid per standard agreement between the parties. In response, 47 states and the District of Columbia have adopted some version of the Uniform Electronic Transaction Act, which creates a framework for determining the legality of e-signatures in commercial and government transactions. The 3 states that haven't adopted the UETA, Illinois, New York, and Washington, created their own laws to deal with the same issue. In online acceptance or signature can be established in a variety of ways, regardless of what it means to, quote, sign, end quote, something online. The intent of the signer and the establishment of authenticity how do I write authenticity? Authentic. Authenticity of the signing are more important than the actual signature. But when one has agreed to the terms on an online contract, it can still require court analysis. For instance, how do users know whether hitting the enter bar on their laptop while viewing an item on eBay is a binding acceptance to a valid offer? Furthermore, what makes an offer on the internet sufficient to be binding? In a 2007 federal case dealing with such an issue, a lawyer who paid to advertise on Google.com and was billed $100,000 over 3 years, sued Google.
Ticked_off_Patrick just redeemed posture check.
Thank you for the posture check. Google's contract with advertisers require the advertiser to pay Google every time someone using Google clicked on selected keywords, leading to the advertiser's website. The advertising contract was naturally online and is known as a click wrap agreement, because the offeree enters into the contract by clicking on a dialog box which is on the screen. In the case, the lawyer claims Google's click wrap contract was fraudulent because the terms weren't clearly identified. The court disagreed, in part because Google provided the entire contract by way of a web page link, which then placed the entire agreement in a text box. Furthermore, the contract's click wrap was preceded by a button with text that said, "Yes, I agree to the above terms and conditions." And that had to be clicked before the user could enter into the contract. The court ruled in favor of Google. Another type of e-contract is the browse wrap. Unlike the click wrap, where the internet user agrees to the other party's terms by way of e-signature, or even a digital signature, some algorithmically I need to look that up. Algorithm. Algorithmically created message that is unique for the recipient, allowing the recipient to respond electronically in some cryptographic way so as to confirm that the actual recipient was the one signing online. A browse wrap is less stringent. In a browse wrap contract, the terms of the online agreement, downloading software, for instance, are available to review or browse, but explicitly accepting the terms isn't necessary. browse wrap agreements are looked upon less favorably than click wraps because of the lack of clarity that the user or buyer was adequately presented the terms of the contract. For example, in 2014, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled against an arbitration agreement placed in Barnes and Noble's browse wrap online terms of service, concluding that the hyperlink for the website's terms of use, which included the arbitration clause, was insufficient. Not all legal documents have their own online equivalent versions. For instance, as of now, no jurisdiction recognizes the validity of an online will, codicil, or other online testamentary trust, much less an online eviction or foreclosure notice. Ever wonder where click wrap and browse wrap came from? Glad you asked. It's one thing to click on or click through something or to browse information online, but why is wrap added? You can thank the software companies, because before there was an internet, computer software makers often put the terms of their software licenses inside the boxes with the software disks. And how were the boxes prepared for sale? They were shrink wrapped, which meant that one couldn't find the fine print of the contract between the seller and consumer until after tearing and discarding the plastic wrap. Essentially, the terms inside the shrink wrapped box stated that use of the software was evidence of agreement with the terms. The law was split on shrink wrap contracts, with some courts concluding they were unenforceable because buyers hadn't agreed to the terms prior to making the purchase. Let me look up shrink. I had the right idea. Shrink wrapped. And that's it. Contract requirements, chapter 19. I didn't make it to the audiobook today. I was just doing the legal terminology textbook. My bad. Let's, what am I gonna raid? I'm gonna raid Dizzy Rolls. She's currently playing Dark Souls 3. I'll see y'all tomorrow for Digimon. Till then, goodbye.